does not have the horses for that. And we'll hear Coach Mainieri talk about that in a roundabout way coming up, I'm sure, here in a little bit, because as we've seen many times, South Carolina just does not have the talent to compete consistently in this conference. That's why they only won 6 conference games. And yeah, as great as it was to beat LSU the other night in game number 1, what happened the rest of the series? You got beaten pretty thoroughly in those other 18 innings. So again, yeah, maybe you can win one game today, but I'm not expecting anything crazy this week out in Hoover.
Yeah, look, and you've probably yipped about this for the first couple of minutes. Look, baseball, it's a kooky thing where, you know, the reverse locks happen, and it's just your day.
You can get a pitcher on a hot streak, or you know, a really good hitter go into a slump on that day, and those kind of things factor in. Like I said, the A's can beat the Dodgers tomorrow, but still lose the series.
Well, I mean, let's go even in the SEC. Who'd Missouri sweep?
Yeah, exactly. A&M.
Missouri, a team with almost a 10-run ERA, they sweep A&M because everything's going so well for A&M.
Yeah,
by the way, your A&M riff, my friend, is classic, and I really enjoy it.
Listen,
thank you.
Things aren't perfect here in Columbia, but thank God we're not in College Station.
Sometimes when you're not feeling good, it's good to have someone else point out there's people in more misery than you.
Exactly. Somebody would your mom probably tell you as a kid? Somebody always has it worse off than you. That somebody is Texas A&M.
Exactly. All right, so, you know, as we talk about this baseball team, a couple things I want to focus on as they kick into the SEC tournament, 5:15 pregame, 5:30 first pitch from Hoover, obviously South Carolina, Florida. What's the difference in a year? Offensively, Tyler Head, last year in the SEC, 5th in runs scored.
Okay.
6th in home runs, 2nd in walks, a .274 batting average, which was, you know, I mean, kind of almost middle of the road.
Yeah.
This year, 15th in runs scored, 14th in home runs, 13th in walks, .266 batting average.
So every metric got worse, is what you're telling me.
Pretty much. Now, what was the change? Because you have the same hitting coach.
Head coach.
You did change some players, but you still had Ethan Petrie, you had Nathan Hall.
Yeah.
Did you have a few injuries? Sure. But this offense, a lot worse than last year.
Well, and what was one of Mainieri's big MOs when it comes to offense? We don't like taking walks. Well, they didn't take nearly as many this year, but that did not prove to be as beneficial as they thought it would be.
Well, here's the problem. You didn't hit home runs, you didn't walk, you didn't steal bases, you didn't get on base, and you didn't hit for a high batting average.
Have a tough time winning baseball games that way.
Tough time. And again, look, I understand philosophies, and Paul Mainieri has a lot more trips to Omaha than me and a lot more national championships than me. But I just think when you have such a distaste for walks that came out to us in the media, you're asking, I think as there are hitters who I think would take that as now we've got to go be more aggressive.
Sure. Swing at things that we wouldn't normally swing at.
Right. Maybe swinging at balls outside the zone that we wouldn't swing at. Or swinging at balls in the zone that maybe we would have taken last year because we were working counts more, and maybe that wasn't the pitch we wanted to swing at early in the count because it wasn't like you and I talk about. That pitch, I wasn't hunting that pitch because it's not my pitch.
Sure.
Even if it was a strike, it's not the strike I hit the best.
Right.
So the philosophy got to be more, let's just knock it down and get all the analytics and all the other mumbo-jumbo. Get more aggressive at the plate.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
And if that was the mindset, guess what?
It
did not work.
No, it didn't.
It did not work at all.
And again, we go back to the conversation of, okay, well, if Mainieri is not going to get canned after 1 year, when you go 6-24 in conference play and have your worst conference record in the history being in the SEC, somebody's got to go. Like, there's got to be some kind of movement below Mainieri and the coaching staff, or else people are going to be like, well, why the heck are we going to believe in the exact same team next year? And you can point fingers, say, okay, well, you know, Monty's offense got worse, but again, we don't know how much of it is Monty, how much of it is Paul Mainieri.
Okay, again, and we don't. But okay, let's just take the outside looking in approach to this thing, because that's all we got is what I just read you.
Sure.
We saw Monty's offense. Last year and the year before, which is kind of the same thing. Home runs, walks, because there were some complaints of home runs, walks, strikeouts, not a lot of situational hitting or not a lot of small ball. It's just home runs, walks, strikeouts, right?
Yeah.
The analytic way of hitting in 20, 24, 25, 23. This year, they didn't hit home runs, and they didn't walk. And I think their strikeouts did come down because they were being more aggressive and they weren't working as deep into counts. so you're not striking out as much. But we saw the metrics across the board. The hitting coach is the same. You still had some guys who can hit in Hall and Petrie, but a lot of some other guys' numbers came down that were here last year.
Yep.
So it feels like, and again, this is just throwing stuff against the wall. It feels like Coach Maneri's philosophy is what they went with is I don't like walks, we want to hit. Well, did that lead to over-aggressiveness? Did that lead to guys swinging at pitches that they wouldn't normally swing at? Did it mess with guys' approaches who have been taught a certain way for X amount of time? Did you have a crew of hitters who did not fit that philosophy? Then why would you force a philosophy on hitters where it doesn't fit? And that's not the hit. We've seen what the hitting coach wants to do.
Sure.
We've seen Monty's philosophy. So to your point of, okay, do we have to move someone along the coaching staff? If you want me to be blunt, I would move the pitching coach before I'd move Monty.
Yeah, but that comes to the question of, okay, you have the pitching coach that's been your right-hand man for the better part of, 10 to 15 years. You don't know Monty that well. You know, again, he was already here, and you inherited him as an assistant coach.
And to be fair, again, now this is where this gets all soap opera, right?
Sure.
This is almost like we're watching, some kind of bad reality TV show on VH1.
Yeah.
So it's like your guy Rooney's been with you for a long time. Your pitching staffs have been successful in the past with Rooney.
Yes.
It wasn't this year. You know, Monty had a level of success with this offense the last couple of years before you showed up. The offense got much worse, but you don't have a relationship with Monty. And two, how much of this, just play along with me, was this? Okay, you be Paul Maneri, I'll be Ray Tanner.
All right.
Hey, Paul, I'm going to offer you the job, but can you do me a favor? Can you talk to Monty? Monty's a great baseball guy. Monty knows South Carolina. He's a great recruiter. By the way, if you cut him, he actually does bleed garnet and black.
Yep.
I'm not telling you who to hire. I'm not telling you who to hire. But could you talk to Monty?
We would love if you retained Monty Lee.
But we're not telling you what to do.
Right.
And was that the conversation?
Could have been.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't.
And look, and the fact that, again, you've had a historically bad season in conference play, one of the worst seasons in the history of South Carolina baseball, everything is up for examination.
Yes,
I think you got to figure out what the problems are.
Yeah, I think, and that's why the quote yesterday from Coach Maneri about, what could I have done different? That's disappointing because, and maybe he'll think different when the year's over and he gets to sit down, because that's a question in a press conference, to be fair. I just feel like when this has gone that bad, everybody's got to take a step back and look at themselves.
Sure.
And look, I know Paul Maneri's been incredibly successful. And when you've been that successful, your way works a lot. But maybe when you hit the crapper like this, it's time to take a step back and go, okay, what do I have to change anything in how I go about this, in my philosophies and my processes? Because maybe I've been out of the game 3 years.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to sit down and reevaluate what I do. I'm just throwing stuff against the wall.
Again, we all are, because we're trying to get to the root of what the problem is and instill some kind of hope for 2025 or 26. Because, again, if nothing changes, and sure, you're going to bring in a different crop of talent from the transfer portal and all that kind of stuff. But fundamentally, if nothing with your program changes, why do we think that team's going to be any better?
Well, it's more like also you get a whole year to bring in your, air quotes on video, the
classic your guys.
And so it's the other part of this. You're bringing in your guys. You're bringing in guys who are more aggressive at the plate and guys who, aren't going to sit there and go deep in counts and aren't going to be walking or more like hitting their way into runs and things of that nature. Pitching-wise, you bring in guys who fit the Rooney philosophy more of pitching. And then, to be honest, to flip it back, Monty Lee's hitting philosophies. If you're going to go with Paul Maneri's hitting philosophies, does Monty Lee want to be part of being the hitting coach, teaching someone else's philosophies that you might not be down with? Again, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Again, all solid questions to ask. We're trying to figure it out, too.
Exactly.
Just like everybody listening.
Yeah.
Because, again, there's no, and like Maneri's alluded to, okay, maybe saying we're going to go to Omaha in year number 1 was asking a little much, because that is a significant accomplishment for a program that's not been there in a while, but it shouldn't have been this bad. You shouldn't have been theoretically that far off from what this team was a year ago, which were they a 2 or a 3 seed at the NC State Regional? Like, you should have been somewhere in the field of 64. Yeah, maybe not hosting, but at least a part of the field. And now, outside of a miracle run in the next 5 days, you're not going to be that.
And really, when it goes like this, everything needs to be flipped upside down. If I'm Jeremiah Donati, I'm just saying if I'm Donati and I'm the AD, this is what I'm asking. I'm asking, Coach Maneri, all this I just brought up.
Yeah.
What went wrong here? And what do you think you need to do different next year? Now, maybe Coach Maneri will give the same answer he gave in the Q&A. I couldn't do anything different, man. And maybe so. Maybe that's the way he thinks. But if you're thinking that way, then you better go out and get players and coaches that are agreeing with your vision, because next year, look, it feels like this is going to get run back.
Yes.
And that's fine.
Yes.
But obviously, this can't happen again in any way, shape, or form.
If you're flirting with 6-24 again, you're probably not making it to the end of next season.
I will say this. It's going to be in your best interest to either at least get in the postseason, or you better be sniffing around the postseason at the end of the year next year.
Yes, which is going to take about a 500 record in conference play.
And you got to be at that 12-13, magic 12-13 win mark.
Yep.
And so that's just, and we'll hit the pitching at the 2 o'clock, but that was my first. I was okay. Today I said, okay, let's look just specifically on last year and compare it to this year, and then let's have a conversation about it. And that was the hitting, and the hitting has fallen on all levels, pretty much from last year's offense. I will hear from Coach Maneri, get some sound about the SEC tournament and about his opponent. That's coming up next, as we'll hear from the coach. It is the halftime show. David Ayer's punching the buttons. Tyler's here. Terry Ford till 3 on the game. Oh, it's a halftime show. We're trying to figure out how to get Dave's car fixed. We'll get into that later. Ideas to get Dave $1,900, so you have to take the bus anymore.
Dave, I feel like your next car is not going to be a Beamer, right?
Well, that could have happened to any car.
True, but the cost to replace that on a Honda Accord is a little bit different.
A little bit different than the BMW.
Yeah, a Honda Accord would probably go to the junkyard, find $10,000.
Yeah,
find
exactly.
parts.
Again, you can find parts pretty cheap for something like that, but British Motor Works is a little bit of a different story.
You have to fly over to England to the junkyard to find the BMW pieces. All right, so Paul Mainieri talked to the media yesterday, again today, 5:15 pregame, 5:30 first pitch. South Carolina at Hoover, SEC tournament versus the Florida Gators, a team that came in here a little while ago to Founders and dog walked South Carolina.
Yeah.
3 times.
Shellacked is the word that I like to use.
Shellack's nice.
You had the one game, 22-3.
That was...
Where you, was it 16 runs in the final 2 innings, I think?
It wasn't pretty.
Wasn't pretty.
All right, so Coach Mainieri talking to the media. Let's grab cut 1 to start off with, Dave. Coach Mainieri's approach to the tournament, because the fact is if South Carolina wants to play in the NCAAs, they're going to have to win the SEC tournament. Having to win it all, here's Coach Mainieri's thoughts on that.
I haven't been in that situation a lot. When I coached at Notre Dame, there was never any guarantee that you would get an at-large bid just because it was the Big East Conference and you didn't know how many bids would come besides the automatic qualifier who won the tournament. So I have a little experience with it there, and a couple of times at LSU maybe we were a little bit on the bubble type of thing. But there's only one way to take it, especially in a single elimination tournament. You just got to do it one game at a time. So I've explained to the players, look, if we can beat Florida on Tuesday, we'll play Ole Miss on Wednesday. And if we can beat Ole Miss on Wednesday, we have a day off on Thursday and kind of regroup a little bit. And then you got a weekend series. You got to win 3 in a row. So obviously that's a daunting task if you think, we got to win 5 games in a row, and you just start out that way. But you just got to take it one game at a time. I've always enjoyed this tournament. I just maybe it's because we had a lot of success in it or whatever, but I just always enjoyed it. The police escorts to the field and the big crowds and the people tailgating, all the different teams there, and obviously the competition is outstanding. The SEC does everything the right way. They give gifts to the players, and it's just really a cool tournament. And it's a lot better, obviously, when you're in the NCAA tournament, or that you're going to be a host, or you're going to be a national seed. It takes a lot of pressure off you, but it still doesn't change the fact that it's at a great venue and all the other ancillary things. So I want our players to go there and just let it rip, and feel like, hey, if we're gonna, if this is it for us, then let's at least go leave it all out on the field and do the very best that we can.
Yeah, I mean, you got nothing to lose. You're playing with house money. Go be loose and let it all hang out and play ball.
There is something dangerous about that kind of team. Mm-hmm. As again, they don't have the talent or the horses to compete, for 5 straight wins necessarily. But there is something about a team that has everything to gain and nothing to lose, that's just going to throw the kitchen sink at it, as opposed to some of these other teams that know they're in, worrying about their seeding and all this kind of stuff, don't want to get guys hurt, those kind of things that, Carolina can throw caution to the wind. How successful that's going to be, I don't know. But like you said, you just got to go out there and do what you can.
What's that old saying? The most dangerous person is the person with nothing to lose, or
exactly.
whatever?
And South Carolina has literally nothing to lose, nor does Missouri right now taking on Alabama in game 1.
Matter of fact, what's that? Missouri, now to the point of this, Missouri, a team with an ERA this year of almost 10.
Yep.
Right now, Alabama's only scored 2 runs there in the 7th inning.
Yep.
And Missouri has ducks on the pond.
Yep. So, and again, they somehow managed to beat A&M in 3 games. So they ended the season with some form of momentum.
And right now it's 2-1 Bama. Was the top of the 7th.
Yep.
Missouri's hitting, and Alabama, I think, is making a pitching change. So Missouri, who scuffled and struggled, and they're most likely going to have a new baseball coach next year. What thing's going to keep? I think Jackson Johnson. I'm skipping on the name. He was an assistant there.
Yeah.
Back in the day, and he came back. And Missouri's been terrible for 2 years, and they've been so bad this year. there's a real good chance they'll have a new coach. They've got nothing going. They're 2-1 in the 7th inning right now.
Sure.
So we'll see. All right. One of the things about this season as it is drawn on is the lack of folks going to Founders to watch games.
Yeah, highlighted this weekend by an overwhelming amount of LSU fans in the stands, where it sounded like a game at Alex Box instead of Founders.
Yeah, which, again, if you're a Carolina fan, that has to drive you insane.
Oh, it's embarrassing.
I mean, I've as an Oriole fan, the Orioles were so bad for so long. When the Yankees would come into town, it was a Yankee home game.
Sure.
You would actually hear this, Derek Jeter, at Camden Yards.
Yeah.
And if you're a sports fan with any kind of self-respect to yourself in what you covet in sports for your favorite teams, that just makes you insane.
Should. It's
It
embarrassing.
just does. So you have LSU taking over your ballpark, and you never want that. And that would have never happened
No.
when this team is good.
This used to be a place people were afraid to come to.
Right. And then you have this happen. So here's Coach Maneri, though, and I believe it would be cut 6, Dave, talking about he understands why the fans aren't engaged right now.
Well, you have to win, and you have to show that you're worth supporting the program, worth the fans supporting it. And I don't blame them for not coming to the games. We didn't have a great product on the field this year, and we're working hard to get it back to where it needs to be so that the fans will feel it's worth their time and expense to come and support, the Gamecocks. Hey, if I was a fan, I would want to support a winning team as well. So that's our goal. Our goal is to put the very best possible team that we can out there on the field so that the fans will enjoy coming back to Founders Park and rooting on the Gamecocks and create that atmosphere. I've said that all along, that my goal was to fill this stadium again, and we didn't accomplish that this year. I don't blame the fans at all. I only blame myself and our team, and for us to not provide the product out there that they would want to be at Founders Park and be supporting us. So we're gonna keep working at it. We're gonna get this thing. It just takes a little bit more time than most of us would like it to take.
I give Coach Maneri credit for that riff. I do. The opposite of Boo Corrigan we were talking about from NC State yesterday.
Right.
Yes, come on out and support us, no matter what. Come on out. No matter how much we underachieve, no matter how bad it is, just come on out here and support the Pack.
Spend your money.
Yes, but make sure you bring your wallet when you're supporting the Pack, by the way. And because, again, Coach Maneri hit it. You're losing a lot on a historic level, and this is a fan base that's not used to this at all. And I've always said this whole thing about where you go to support through thick and thin and good and bad. And there is a level to, yes, I get that. But then you reach a level of, wait a minute, I'm going to spend a lot of money for what?
Yeah.
Or I'm going to take 3 or 4 hours out of my evening or my weekend for what? And I understand the world has changed. There are a lot more ways to spend your night or your weekend than it was 30 years ago or 20 years ago. Hell, even 15 years ago. And when you've got all these options to do things that, by the way, you would enjoy, why are you going to go spend hard-earned money and sit and be unhappy for 3 or 4 hours?
And for last weekend, you had the softball regional going on, which probably drew a lot of people away from Founders Park. But even in years past, with that going, if that was still going on over at Beckham Field, you still had a lot of people at Founders Park to see the #1 team in the country come play South Carolina if the team was decent to good, right?
Tyler, think of this. It would have been, let's say South Carolina was middle of the pack this year. That means you're teetering on, you're going to get in the NCAAs if you're middle of the pack in the SEC. So let's say you're middle of the pack, you're an NCAA tournament team. #1 team's coming to town, and who used to be the head coach of the #1 team?
Paul Maneri.
How cool would that weekend would have been?
Absolutely huge.
And you still would have people at the softball deal, but Founders would have been packed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Founders would have been packed. Halftime show, just in case you just woke up. I found my favorite athlete in sports, and we're going to hear from him in just in case you just woke up. It's a halftime show. Don't forget 5:15. Baseball from Hoover, the SEC tournament, South Carolina, Florida, 5:30 first pitch. You can hear it right here on the game in Columbia, and also our affiliate in Myrtle Beach. We'll come back, hear from my favorite athlete ever next on Just in Case You Just Woke Up on the halftime show on the game. Halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, David Dare. As we move this baby along until 3 o'clock, just in case you just woke up. We'll start with a very interesting story coming out of New York. And these stories pop up during every baseball season.
Yep.
Every baseball season. Somebody's not running hard to first.
We just talked about this the other week with, oh, God. It wasn't Olsen. Was it Murphy with the
No,
Braves?
it was, Sean Murphy, the catcher for the Braves.
Was it Kelnick?
No, it was Kelnick.
It was Kelnick, that's right.
He got thrown out at second.
Got thrown out for not
he wasn't running. I thought he had a home run.
Yep.
And then that's when, who decided to go to social media?
Well, somebody that wasn't doing a whole lot of baseball playing at that point in time, Ronald Acuna.
And Acuna said, wow, if that was me, I'd be benched, because Acuna was benched a couple years ago.
It was direct reference.
Yep, so we had a conversation about that.
Yep.
So Juan Soto hit a ball last night, if my memory serves me.
Yep.
I thought it was a home run in Boston. It was not a home run, and Soto got a single.
It's off the monster.
Yes, it should have been at least a double. And when that thing pops off the monster, it goes in God knows how many different directions.
Right.
So if Soto's hustling out of the batter's box, or even running 75 to 62%, he should be at least on second with a double. Soto was watching it, thought it was out. It wasn't. He gets a single. A statement from the Mets. We will talk about Juan Soto and hustling out of the box. Now, I've always said this, man, and you played baseball growing up, and I played baseball. There's never an excuse not to hustle out of the box.
No.
Ever.
Of course not.
Ever. I don't care if you think you just hit a 500-foot mammoth homer. That's fine. You can hit that. You can hit the ball, and you can take off, and once you see it's out of the park, you can put your hands in the air. Hell, you can carry the bat to first and flip it once it's out of the park. I really don't care.
Sure.
You need to go out of the box hustling.
Mm-hmm.
It's not hard. It's the one thing in baseball almost you can control. Me as a guy that played, and how many times did you hear guys get yelled at not hustling out of the box?
My thing was, whenever I make contact, I put my head down and I ran as fast as I could to first.
I was
and
flying.
I was relying on the base coach to tell me what happened next.
Yeah, I was going, man.
I'm whether it was a dribbler or I hit it all the way to the wall, I am in a dead sprint down the first base line.
Well, first, I guess I wasn't. I know you'll be shocked by my build. I wasn't a power hitter.
Yeah, I wasn't either.
I usually hit like first or second in the order, because I get on base and steal bags or whatever. So if I hit a ball, if I hit a single, I was thinking 2.
Yes.
And if I hit a ball in the gap, I was thinking 3. So that was just me in general, because hustling I had to do, because I wasn't Juan Soto,
Sure,
right?
Sure.
So, but I also understand logic, and you have a guy making more money than some continents. And this is who he's always been in his career.
Yep.
And he hits a ball, and he thinks he nailed on the screws. He likes to watch it.
Yep.
And that's great when that majestic ball flies out of the park.
Yeah, and we're not talking about it.
But when you hit a ball and it doesn't go out, and all of a sudden you're standing at first base, you should at least be on second. That's a thing.
In a park that has a history of balls that typically would be home runs at other places not being home runs. Because, again, you got to hit it a whole lot higher.
Yes, you got that monster there out in left field. So I'm always a hustle the first guy. I just am. It's been beaten into me by all the years I played baseball at a really low level. So I watch that and going, come on, dude, hustle. It ain't hard. It ain't hard to hustle. But when you've let someone, and this is the other thing, when you have let Juan Soto be Juan Soto forever, because you think Juan Soto's the first time Juan Soto's ever watched a ball he's hit?
No, of course not.
So when you let that, it's like anything, when you let that behavior be that way for as long as it's been, and this isn't the first time Juan Soto's hit a ball he thought was out, it didn't go out, and he's standing on first base.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden you're going to tell Juan Soto, hey, bud, that thing you were doing nobody ever checked you on, we're checking you now. So good luck.
Yeah, have fun with that.
And Soto's answer was this. When they asked him about it, he said, I thought it was out, it wasn't. Next question.
Yeah.
Soto didn't go like this, yeah, I should be hustling hard to first, and you're right, and I get paid a lot of money. And no, Soto went, yeah.
Well, it's like, what are the Mets going to do? Suspend him?
Right. It's almost like the answer.
Yeah.
The answer was like, what are you going to do to me?
Yeah. You're paying me $750 million.
Right. I'll go sit in a hammock in my palatial estate with a Corona in my hand and still get paid.
You want to give me a couple of days off? Fine.
So, yeah,
I don't like being in Boston anyway.
I hate this town. So again, this is a gray area. It should be a black and white conversation of hustle.
Sure.
But it's a gray area when you're dealing with all the stuff we just said.
Yes.
But should Soto reevaluate himself and go, you know what? I should be running hard to first. Absolutely he should. Will he? No.
Yeah.
He
probably
won't.
not. Yeah.
He won't. And you know, here's the other part, though. Ready? He goes 3 for 4 in that game, hits 2 home runs, drives in 6, and the Mets win 10-2. Are we having the same conversation?
Absolutely not.
No.
But he had a rough weekend against the Yankees, got booed relentlessly in his return to
Everybody
Yankee
turned their back
Stadium.
on him.
Turned their back on him. I think he get one hit last night, but
Yeah, he's not hitting at the level that needs Soto to hit.
The Mets lost the game as well.
So all that comes to this. So it should be easy, but there's so much more into it. But yeah, you should run hard to first. All right, just in case you just woke up here on the game on the halftime show. Dave, get this ready. It is cut 11. I have found my new favorite athlete.
Yep.
And it's from a place I never thought I'd have a favorite athlete. I'm not a golfer. Do I watch the majors and kind of try to keep up with it in some level because it's our job? Yes.
You strike me as the guy that would Happy Gilmore at a Top Golf.
Guess what? I do. I would go with my buddies once or twice a year. I'd go play golf, and I'd Happy Gilmore. I would do all sorts of goofy stuff because I will never take the game seriously because it's too tough to be good at.
Sure.
I don't have the time to be good at it. And if I tried real hard and got serious about golf, do you know how many clubs I would probably break? Many.
A lot.
So I am not a golf guy. I don't play golf. I will watch the majors, but I'm not going to sit around and watch the Missoula, Montana Open. So to find my favorite athlete in the world of golf stuns me. But I saw this riff from Jon Rahm after he basically soiled himself on the back nine at the PGA over the weekend, and I was like, "Oh my God, I found my favorite athlete." How good is this? How good is this riff?
It's good.
All right, Dave. Here, this is Jon Rahm in the presser, facing the media after basically hitting the ball all over the state of North Carolina on the back nine after tying for the lead early in the final round. Here's Rahm's response to his rough back nine. Hit it, Dave.
Well, I think it's the first time I've been in position to win a major that close and haven't done it, right? The only times I think I've been on the lead in a major on a Sunday, I've been able to close it out, and it's a very different situation. So I don't know exactly. But if there's ever a time where with families, 4 is the best. Luckily, I'm gonna get home maybe on time to get the kids to bed or not. I'm not sure. And to them, whatever I did today, win or lose, they don't care. So that's always a good perspective. And I always like to go back a little bit on something that Charles Barkley likes to remind basketball players all the time, like I play golf for a living. It's incredible, right? Am I embarrassed a little bit about how I finished today? Yeah, but I just need to get over it, get over myself. It's like it's not the end of the world. Like it's not like I'm a doctor or a first responder or somebody where if they have a bad day, truly bad things happen, right? So I'll get over it. I'll move on. Again, there's a lot more positive than negative to think about this week, and I'm really happy that I put myself in position and hopefully learn from this and give it another go in the U.S. Open.
Well done.
There's a man who gets it.
Good perspective.
There's a man who has the correct perspective about life. Forget golf for a minute, life.
Yep.
That was fantastic.
Again, he ain't digging ditches.
Now, I'm not out there tarring a roof, babe. I am playing golf for a living and making a lot of money, have a wonderful life.
Even his worst day, he's making more than we'll see in a year.
Yeah, exactly. And he was like, look, there are people who have a bad day, lives get lost.
Yep.
Things bad happen. I had a bad day on the back nine. I'm going to go home. My kids are going to love me as much. The dog's still going to be happy to see me. Wife's not going to divorce me. I got a good life.
Yeah, doing okay.
For not my new favorite athlete.
Well done.
Jon Rahm. Thank you, sir. Firehouse Sub text of the hour, 803-404-6100 next here on the halftime show in the game. Time to get our Firehouse sub text the hour at 803-404-6100. What you got there off the old text machine, Tyler Head?
I'll stand corrected in talking about Dave's car issues. BMW actually stands for Bavarian Motorworks. I said British.
Did you say British?
I don't know why I thought it was British. It's Bavarian. It's German.
It's Bavarian. That's right. They're German. No, it's okay.
But
No,
still,
it's
the
caution.
part has to come a long way to fix Dave's car, is the moral of the story
Yes,
here.
it is. So,
Here's your part, and you will like it.
Yeah, pretty much.
and it's only $1,900.
Well, they have to send it over on a ship, so
Well, that's
it's going to
what-
take 4 weeks.
The part itself is $9.98, but it's the $1,800 or $1,900 of shipping.
Yes, shipping and handling.
Always love that handling part of the. How much it costs them to handle the package?
And then you get the package and it's all beat up like it's been run over. It's like, well, they didn't handle
Wow,
it
you
very
guys
well.
off-
I mean, get it for free.
Or Rock Auto or something
Rock
like
Auto
that.
or something like that. Well, that's the thing. Like we said earlier, you can find anything for a Honda Accord at the junkyard, but
Oh, yeah.
BMW, it's a little different.
Yeah.
And even so, you think I'm going to put it on?
Sure you
I'm
are,
gonna put-
Dave. Dave, 2 words, YouTube. You go on YouTube and you get the tutorial, Dave.
You can figure out.
You can do anything.
You can do just about anything with a car on YouTube these
That's
days.
right. Come on, Dave.
Like that YouTube video of the woman washing her husband's Gibson Les Paul in the bathtub because it was dusty.
Oh.
Here's how to do it, ladies. Surprise your men.
So my dad has a Les Paul. My mom knows nothing about guitars, but even she knows not to do that.
Yeah, that's a wow. That's a, yeah. Hard to go from there. Right?
Yeah.
Some things in life, hard to.
Have you seen the people? You know, like I have like a laptop case here that you can put stickers on, but some of them have like the painted swirls and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I've seen the video of the people that have dipped laptops in the solution, only to figure out that the laptop doesn't work after that because you're dipping it in liquid.
Wow. Oops.
Didn't think
You
that one
seen-
through.
Seen the video of the guy smashing his play system because his girlfriend, he had like NBA 2K or something. Mm-hmm. You create a player and you spend all this stuff and you get his draft status and or whatever.
Uh-huh.
He was like up to $400,000, and she deleted it.
Oh.
Ooh.
Ooh.
He goes crazy, smashing his. Oh, I don't know if of this, screaming at her.
Well, that's his life's work.
Think about that. That was the retirement plan.
Be like if you got to level, I don't know, 10,000 on Candy Crush and someone deleted the app.
Yes. It's
All
not
that
good.
time, all that time and effort.
All that effort for nothing, man. I always love the ones on a lower level that go like a player leaves in free agency. I'll burn his jersey.
We already bought the jersey.
I was going to say, you already spent a couple hundred bones on the jersey. Yeah, you can burn the jersey.
And he already got the money you spent on that jersey. So now you're going to go buy a new jersey for a different player that's also going to get your money that's probably going to leave in a couple years.
Yeah, nice work.
Yeah.
Wait, you showed him.
Oh, hey, we talked about it earlier. Wait till Skeens gets a second deal with somebody else, and the 8 fans in Pittsburgh are upset about it.
Yeah, and they're burning their Skeens jersey. Yeah.
Yeah, you should be directing that anger towards your owner.
You should be, exactly, because it's Bob Nutting's fault, not the player. But yeah, I always love the burning of the jersey. Boy, that guy will come back now.
Yeah.
I changed my mind.
Man, you really showed LeBron when he left,
I'll
didn't
tell you what, old Rollo burned my jersey in his backyard. I changed my mind.
You know
I'm
what?
staying.
I'll come back.
All right, thanks for the text of the hour. We appreciate it. 803-404-6100. Nothing but football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Some interesting goings-on in the world of the NIL when it comes to conferences and schools and local laws. We'll get to that next here on The Game. And we discuss this all the time about how good the nest is and how you need to go to the nest. And you need to, if you truly are looking to do some things to your home, whether it's a refrigerator, just new appliances, refrigerator, how about new appliances? Maybe you want to get new some stuff done to the bathroom that's totally different. You need experts. That's what you need. You don't need to go somewhere where, some dude's working for the summer when he's not in high school, and he's going to tell you, go to aisle 32B. No, you need experts. 70 years of experience at the Nest. Gadsden, 803-978-2025 is the number. You just make that call. You go in with an appointment, tell them about your vision, your budget. They'll take you through the gigantic showroom. They'll make sure whatever you're looking for gets done for you and makes you happy. It's a Nest. 803-978-2025 on Gadsden in the Vista. All right, real quick before we get to lots of football, update from Hoover, the SEC tournament, the baseball tournament. Bama, they wiggled out of the jam as Missouri had base runners on in the seventh, and the Tide have put up a 2 spot. Now it's Alabama 4, Missouri 1, top of the 9th inning. So Bama's 3 outs away from moving on at Hoover.
And as far as pacing goes, they are ahead of schedule right now, which is good. We know that Hoover traditionally gets off track typically on day one. There is some rain expected later tonight.
Of course there is.
I think Carolina's game should be okay, but maybe the nightcap game at 9. maybe a little bit off, because there's inevitably going to be at least one game that runs till like 1:30 in the morning. That's just Hoover tradition.
Well, that's Hoover. Yeah, what was it, my first year here? I think one was ran at like 3 or 2 or 2:30 or whatever, and whatever's going on.
You
there.
never want to be the last game of the day.
No, not at all. So South Carolina will be the first game in the night session or afternoon session.
South Carolina's new slogan, thank God for Missouri.
Hey, there you go.
You gonna get T-shirts, Dave?
Yeah.
You gonna make some?
Well, if you would have technically been behind Missouri, you could have played the first game of the day and got it out of the way. So there's that.
Yeah. So Missouri, a base runner with 1 out in the 9th as the Tide look to finish this up and move on.
You think Missouri fans actually came?
No. I think there are Missouri fans who don't even know they have a baseball program.
Probably not, which is bad because they have actually a nice facility out there, it looks like. Got the turf field and all that, and, not worth anything.
Yeah, not very good. Well, again, Missouri's always been a weird fit in the SEC anyway. And so the idea that
they're the most non-Southeastern team there is. At least Texas and Oklahoma are more in that geographical area.
Yeah, in Missouri, I mean, again, call me crazy. In Missouri, you probably don't have great baseball weather all year round in Columbia, Missouri. So it's just a different vibe.
I think it's, 30 degrees until the middle of April.
Mm-hmm. Hey, we got to hit batter. That never happens. So now Missouri 2 on 1 out. The tying run comes to the plate, down 4-1 in the 9th inning to Alabama. All right, tons of football.
When did Missouri join the SEC?
2012.
Yep.
And didn't they win the SEC East right away?
They had a good
13
football
and 14.
program. Yeah, they had a good football program.
And they've not been back since.
Gary Pinkel,
Matty Mock at quarterback.
Mm-hmm. They were good. And Chase Daniel.
That was before they came to the SEC.
That was when they were in that was when they Big 12. They were going to almost play for the national championship with Chase Daniel. That's right.
Now in 2014, they had a very manageable schedule. Georgia blew them out in Como, but the rest of their schedule was easy. They kind of backdoored into that SEC championship game. 2013, that was a legit team. James Franklin, not that James Franklin, the other one, was the quarterback for them that year.
Well, Mock was a high-level recruit.
Yep, and
if I remember,
he ended up having a lot of off-the-field stuff.
Yeah, he had some
screwed him up.
But yeah, so Missouri was good there back in the day in football. All right, so speaking of, there's a very interesting situation brewing. I will let you explain it because you explained it perfectly this morning.
Yeah, so again, we know that the House versus NCAA settlement is still ongoing. They had the final hearing about a month and a half ago. The judge sent them back to rework the language on some of the roster stuff with walk-ons and those kind of things. But the expectation is that it's supposed to potentially be settled this week. Well, as you typically would think, the powers that be in college football are already setting things in motion to position this for when it does end up coming to fruition. And this College Sports Commission is what's going to be kind of this new entity that's going to come about, that's going to oversee all the NIL stuff, this NIL Go thing, the clearinghouse and all that kind of stuff, to oversee it for everybody in college football and all of college sports. But in the past 24 hours, and this is all being reported on by Ross Dellinger of yahoosports.com, who again is the guru when it comes to covering all these things. And if you want to know anything related to all this, go check out his coverage on yahoosports.com. But an interesting tidbit that has come about was this provision that they're drafting up. And I'm just going to read this directly. Monday night, the power conferences are circulating a plan that would require schools to waive their rights to sue the new College Sports Commission, which is the new entity created in the wake of the settlement, to police athletic compensation. If schools don't sign, according to Dellinger, they could face expulsion from their conference and risk being blackballed from playing other power conference programs if they don't forego their right to be able to sue the College Sports Commission. Because again, we talk about it. Even when the House thing gets approved, there's going to be a line of lawsuits out the door waiting to go of again, violating antitrust. And there are specific state laws out there, like the state of Tennessee, that allow their schools within the state to go around the settlement to do basically what they want to do. And this, crafted by the Power Four conferences, is being put together to try and quell that from happening, and basically a sign or die agreement for all Power Conference schools.
And basically, because you can't get your antitrust exemption from Congress, you're building your own.
Yes.
With the universities and the schools.
And the states again, Tennessee, Virginia, I think Colorado maybe has a rule like this as well. They're allowing their schools free reign to do what they want, but the power conferences are saying, hey, you can't do that if you sign this thing.
You got to fall in line.
You got to fall in line.
Because what's going on, and one of the things that the NCAA is asking Congress to do is make uniform laws that are federal laws to wipe out these state laws that are going around the NCAA and going around all of these rules and regulations that, are trying to be put in by conferences by, saying, okay, but our state law says this, and we don't want to break our state law. Remember, that was the Texas one. We don't break our state law.
Right.
Now, first of all, I'm going to give these guys credit for this. They're trying, they're thinking, and they're trying.
Yes.
But a couple things. A, you can't stop players from suing.
Right.
You can only stop schools. So the players are still going to sue because you're breaking their what, Tyler?
Antitrust. Ability to earn.
Yes. So that's a thing. 2, on this whole spiel. You're doing anything you can not to collectively bargain.
Pretty much.
You're doing, look, I know it's easier said than done. I get it. But at the end of the day, if you want to fix this, because you can stop the schools from suing by signing the death letter.
Yeah.
You can't stop the players or the players' families or any other or a collective or any other entity. You can't stop them from suing you for breaking antitrust.
And what becomes interesting here, and again, we still got to get the actual final settlement for the House versus NCAA case, is okay, it's one thing to say, all right, state of Tennessee, Tennessee and Vanderbilt, if you don't sign this, we're going to kick you out of the SEC. But what if a lot of states have these rules and you're talking about half the power conference team saying, yeah, we don't want to sign that thing? Then you're calling their bluff, essentially.
Or basically, I was going to cut off to what if, let's go by this, ready? What if Georgia and Alabama don't want to do it?
A little bit of a different story.
What are you going to do?
Yeah. But again, and then you're talking about within that state, you're talking about Georgia Tech in the ACC. You're talking about Auburn also in the SEC. So you've got a lot of high-level institutions that you would be saying, okay, we got to kick you out now. I'm sorry.
And then let's flip it. Let's make it even more interesting. Let's say Clemson, Miami, and Florida State don't want any part of it in the ACC.
Yeah.
Again, Big Ten. What if Ohio State and Michigan look at you and go, here's the one-finger salute? So I understand what they're trying to do here. And I give them credit for trying to circumvent and try to get something in place that will help them. But again, you're going to, I must say, get your shot glass ready. Collectively bargain. It's the only way you're going to get this done. You're going to have to come up with an agreement with everybody who's got skins in the game agrees on. That's the only way it's going to work. But we know why they don't want to do it. Let's just be honest. They can give you all the, it's so impossible. There's so many schools. There's so many athletes. I get all that. But here's the real reason. I'm going to give you the real reason. They don't want to sit at a table with a 19-year-old and negotiate because they think it's beneath them.
Sure.
Why am I going to negotiate with a teenager? I don't negotiate with my own teenagers. Why am I negotiating with a teenager? Why am I going to sit at a table with a bunch of pimple-faced, snot-nosed student athletes and negotiate what we have?
Yeah.
That's really what this is. Let's just move all of the fertilizer off of this. That's all this really comes down to. That's beneath us as the NCAA and the guys that wear the suits and eat Grey Poupon. Why the hell are we going to sit down and talk to teenage athletes and athletes in their early 20s? Why am I sitting down negotiating? They should be happy that they have what they have.
Right.
That's the real reason this doesn't happen, in my opinion.
Probably so.
It's not about all this other mumbo-jumbo.
Yeah. And again, it's becoming so convoluted at this point. And again, we're in the trenches because we cover this sport. It's our job, obviously. But I can understand why the average sports fan looks at this and rolls their eyes or throws their hands up and said, this is not the college sports that I know and love for the past 30 or 40 years. And again, at this point right now, what we see on the field in the fall has not changed, right? You tune in on a college on a Saturday, you're not thinking about NIL, you're not thinking about realignment, like you're just watching college football. This is where you start to trickle into that area of saying, okay, again, if this does end up happening, and let's say the schools in the state of Tennessee opt not to sign this thing, okay, well, Tennessee, sorry, you can't be in the SEC anymore, and go figure it out for yourself because you're not going to be able to play any power conference schools. Now you start affecting what happens on the field.
Exactly. And, this thing that is such the thing that has become, and the fact that they don't want to talk to these teenagers, young adults, however you want to phrase it, it kind of makes me think, though, Have you? Because they're doing everything but the logical thing right in front. The logical thing in front of them, they don't want to do.
Yeah, like that every other professional sports league does.
Yes, and you're
professional
sports now.
Your athletes are getting money. You're a professional.
And the thing, it's like, if you ever in your life, because it's a logical thing in front of you to do something, and you don't want to do the logical thing, so you do all these hoops to get around the logical thing.
Yeah.
Whether it's like something simple, like the wife wants you to clean something, right?
Sure.
And the easy way to clean it is going to be a pain in the butt for you.
Yeah.
So you decide to find all these other ways to maybe do it that's easier for you, and it's all convoluted and complicated, and it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Instead of just doing the easy thing that you don't want to do.
It's like, I don't know, if you make like chili or something in one of those big pots, and it's your turn to clean the kitchen, and, if you spend like 3 minutes just scrubbing the thing, you can probably get it clean, but you just put soap in it and let it sit overnight. And you're like, I'll deal with it later. That's kind of what you're doing here. It's like, instead of just putting our nose down and getting this done, we're going to let this soak and we'll deal with it later.
We're going to put a lot of dishwashing liquid in there. All right, put the water, and you got to hit the thing on spray.
Exactly, yeah.
To get some good bubble going.
Yeah.
And now we're going to leave it sit there for years.
Yeah, it's like, we're technically cleaning it.
Hey, what you do after a while, you start moving it around out of the way.
Exactly.
It's like, a big pot that's in your way.
Because you put it on the side of the sink so you can wash the other dishes. You're like, I'll get to that later. Like, it's technically washing. There's soap in there. But it's like, no, again, if you just take 3 minutes and actually scrub the thing, you'll be done with it.
It's even better when you got the big pot in there, because every time you turn on the faucet, the big pot's getting water under it.
Yes.
So then you pick the big pot to move. That way you sit on the counter, then what happens?
There's water underneath it.
The counter's covered in water.
You've made a mess. So you've created more of a mess by trying to prolong something that you could have just gotten done pretty quickly.
I think you've come up with the perfect analogy for this.
Yeah, it's letting the chili pot soak.
So the NCAA, clean the bleeping pot. Scrub it. Let's get this over with. All right. By the way, Alabama tried their best to screw this thing up, but thank God they're playing Missouri. So there was one out, and then Missouri got, I think it was a base hit. Then there was a hit batter.
Yep.
And then there was a ground ball hit to the Bama first baseman, fields it clean, turns the throw to second to get the force, hits the runner in the back. So then Missouri has bases loaded and one out. And then we started this conversation. I looked up, and Alabama's all fist bumping. So Missouri screwed up the scoring opportunity with the bases loaded and one out, got nothing, and they lose 4-1.
If it was any other team in the SEC, maybe exception of South Carolina, Alabama may have lost that game.
Alabama might still be giving up runs.
They were playing the worst team in the SEC.
So game one's out of the way, and Alabama takes out Missouri. Missouri goes home, and the Tide move on at Hoover in the SEC baseball tournament. We have baseball from Hoover. 5:15 pregame, 5:30 first pitch here in Columbia, and our affiliate in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and Florida. We will come back. The quarterback tiers are out from ESPN, Tyler. We'll tell you where the South Carolina quarterback room ranks in the country according to ESPN. We will do that next on the halftime show. David Dare is making sure we stay on the air. Tyler Head, Terry Ford, till 3 on the game. All right, halftime show. Nothing but football pretty much in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. About 25 minutes away from Kentucky, Oklahoma, Game 2 in Hoover. Of course, Game 3 will be South Carolina and Florida. And we start 5:15 here on the game in Columbia and also in Myrtle Beach. All right, so ESPN, they do the tier thing for quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yep.
They did the tier, and last year I think last year was the first year I saw this tier for quarterbacks in college football.
Mm.
All right, so they have tier 1, top of the class, and there are 11 in the top of the class. And they went into a little bit of detail on some stuff I think is interesting, but we'll start off with this. The tier 1 has these quarterback rooms. Clemson with Cade Klubnik and Christopher Vizina, who was a high-rated recruit coming out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
LSU, Garrett Nussmeier, Michael Van Buren, who was at Mississippi State.
Yep.
Oklahoma, John Mateer, Michael Hawkins Jr., who got some starts last year, the 4-star.
Yep.
Penn State, Drew Aller, and then Ethan Grunkemeyer, who I don't know a whole lot about, to be quite honest with you.
I hope they call him Grunk.
Yeah, well, I think they will be. And then South Carolina, Lenore Sellers, Air Nolan.
Yep. So we're just doing 2 deep.
They do too, yes.
Okay.
All right.
But wait, there's no depth chart. How do we know?
Maybe ESPN. Oh, I tell you, Shane needs to talk to ESPN.
Listen,
That's a depth chart.
we don't know who the backup is.
That's a depth chart. Good catch. And they do a little something on all these quarterback rooms. For South Carolina, they went Lenore Sellers 2024 production, weeks 1 through 9, a 51.7 QBR, 5 passing TDs, 4 interceptions, 6.9 yards per pass. Weeks 10 through the bowl game, 81.4 QBR, 13 touchdown passes, 4 picks, 9.85 yards per pass. So, again, our eye test told us what the stats just backed up, right?
Sure.
That once he got that last quarter of the season, you really saw the improvement on our Sellers. And that's the stats to back it up. So that is just a phenomenal run at the end of the year by Sellers, all the way around. All right, and this is an interesting one about Klubnik at Clemson. 2 years ago, Cade Klubnik really struggled throwing the ball downfield. It got to the point where Clemson didn't even want to throw the ball downfield. Klubnik last year, no quarterback had more touchdown passes on throws of 20 yards or more than Klubnik, 16 of them. Klubnik's line on throwing deep, which is over 20 yards, 47% completion, 16 TDs, 3 picks, 16.5 yards per attempt. So, and they do a little something on all these quarterbacks on this list. So that's tier 1. And let's see, where was it at here? Just for what John Mateer did at Washington State. And this will be the new starting quarterback at Oklahoma because God knows they needed one. In the playoff era, 14 players have posted a line of 4,000 yards passing, 40 touchdowns, 9 yards per pass, and no more than 10 turnovers. That group includes 13 players selected in the first 15 picks of the draft, 6 Heisman winners, and 8 more finalists. Mateer missed that club by only 36 yards last year.
Wow.
And Mateer also had 53 broken or evaded tackles, and that topped FBS. Then no quarterback who averaged at least 9 air yards per throw had a lower rate of off-target throws than Mateer. So that tells you one thing. Oklahoma got a really good quarterback. Again, hey, Brett Venables, feel that seat?
Look, he was regarded, much like Cam Ward was, also coming out of Washington State 2 seasons ago now, as the best option quarterback-wise out of the transfer portal. And like you said, Brent Venables backs up against the wall. They will not take another losing season out there. He will be walking with the large sum of money as a buyout, but he'll be walking if they can't turn that around and get over 500 this year.
All right, Tier 1B, Florida with DJ Lagway, Miami with Carson Beck, Texas with Arch Manning. That's the so hot right now.
Yep.
Not quite Tier 1, but Tier 2, because the thought is Lagway is going to be really good. Carson Beck last year was a combination of things.
We've seen him be good before.
And then Arch Manning, you saw a taste of it, but we love the upside and the high ceiling and the potential. And his last name's Manning.
And that's the thing, is the ceiling on these guys, if they play their best, is very high. Again, we saw a good bit of Lagway last year, did get hurt towards the end of the season, but helped Florida pick up some of those huge victories at the end of the year over, Ole Miss and LSU, and is thought to be, like Lenore Sellers, that promising young talent coming along in a second year as starter. Again, Carson Beck last year was not great at Georgia, but in the years past, the year before that, when he had a little more talent around him at receiver, he did a better job. So is that going to happen at Miami? We'll see. And again, Arch Manning, like you said, the expectations are through the roof. If he is as good as people say he is going to be, then people have no problem saying he's one of the top-tier quarterbacks in college football.
So let's go to a little Arch Manning conversation real quick, Dave. Cut 9. This is Aaron Murray, former Georgia quarterback, does SEC work. Aaron Murray on SiriusXM asking an interesting question about Arch Manning, where it starts, well, if Arch Manning is so good, blah, blah, blah. Here is Aaron Murray.
I am not sold like so many other people are that this guy is like going to be the number one pick in the NFL draft, that he's going to just be unbelievable, that he's going to be the next coming of Payne and Eli, but that's mobile. Like, I'm like, you know what? And I said this last year during the season too, because I was a big fan of Quinn Ewers heading into the season. I thought Quinn did some good stuff at times last season, but let's be honest, Texas had probably the second or third best roster in America. Probably the second or third. Why were they not competing for a national championship? Is because Quinn was holding them back. Quinn did not perform to the level that I thought he could. And then you see now in the NFL draft, I mean, he gets drafted in the 7th round. So even NFL scouts are saying like, this guy's just maybe not as good as anticipated coming out as a recruit, or maybe even 2 years ago. So all in all, Quinn Ewers had a disappointing season, and it reflected in his draft stock. If you are so good and everyone has you projected number one pick in the NFL draft come 2026, why in the hell are you not playing above a 7th round quarterback? If Steve Sarkisian knows what he's doing and he knows how good their roster is, which I've talked to a lot of coaches at a lot of different teams, and I asked them, like, what are the top rosters? Ohio State, Texas, probably Georgia. What it was holding them back? Quinn Ewers. Why was Arch not playing? It's like, that rubs me the wrong way a little bit. And then you watch the tape, and yeah, it looks good at times. I wouldn't say like it looks incredible. It doesn't scream first round talent to me off the back. And I'm not saying he can't get there. And I'm never going to talk bad about a quarterback because I know how difficult it is. I'm cheering for him like I cheer for every quarterback. I want them all to have success, but I need to see it first. I'm not going to crown you this All-American superstar when I haven't seen you do it. Like right now, I would have a middle of the pack in the SEC when it comes to quarterbacks.
He's done?
He's done.
That pause threw me. I get what Aaron Murray's saying. Absolutely. To the first part of it, if you watched Arch Manning play and you watched Quinn Ewers play last year, I thought Manning was the better quarterback. Mm-hmm. If you look at the numbers, the breakdown of numbers of passing quadrants, if you look at that chart, like behind the line of scrimmage, 0 to 9, 10 to 19, 20 plus, Arch Manning had better overall numbers if you just break down the Pro Football Focus passing quadrants.
Yep.
Or SEC StatCat or any place that breaks this stuff down. Manning was better. But here's the thing. It's more than that. I think Sarkisian, again, you were a team looked at to get back to the college football playoff. Mm-hmm. And again, I don't know because Sark doesn't hang out with us anymore. Steve Sarkisian was probably sitting there watching the same tape everybody else is watching, looking at Ewers' limitations, but he's thinking to himself, and this can go one of two ways because some coaches have made a different decision. Did he make this decision like in this mindset? Yeah, Quinn's got a ton of experience. He was a quarterback who went to the playoff last year. I trust him more than I trust an untested redshirt freshman.
I think it's part of it.
I mean, could that be?
Because, again, regardless of how talented you are, handling the pressure of being in a playoff, that's a lot. Mm-hmm. And, again, Arch had his opportunities to take the reins and didn't do it. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, what do you do?
And that's the thing. I think Aaron Murray made a good point too. Arch Manning looked good when he played, but he didn't you didn't go like just going, oh my God, it is the second coming. No, you didn't. And even though I think Arch Manning, I'll say it again, I think Arch Manning was better than Quinn Ewers last year.
Sure.
But it's just very interesting to me. I love this. He gets Steve Sarkisian away from microphones and stuff. This is good dude. Seriously, why didn't you play Arch Manning? I would love to know. It could have been as simple as I'm riding with the experienced guy because the pressure's on me to make the college football playoff.
Yep.
We are talking nothing but football. The 1 o'clock hour is sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors on the halftime show. On the game, NFL, the owners' meetings are going. We'll get to that next. We're yapping about football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on the game. David Dare, Terry Ford, Tyler Head. All right, so the NFL is having their owners' meetings. Two interesting things will be happening. A, it feels like that the tush push that the Eagles use, that pretty much is unstoppable, is going to get banned. Because now in our, in the NFL, if you can't stop it, ban it. Find a rule.
Well, no, you say it's a safety concern.
Well, that's where we're going.
Yeah.
And that's a load of garbage.
Yeah.
But the one thing, look, there is something the Packers are bringing up, though, that I'm okay with it if you take this to a bigger picture level. Up until about 2005, there was a rule in the NFL you could not assist a runner. Couldn't push him, pull him, drag him. They got rid of the rule, and now you see it all the time. You see some big offensive lineman grab a receiver or a running back and fling him like up the field, right?
Yep.
Now, if you want to go back to that post-2005 rule and say no one can assist a runner, okay, do that.
Sure.
Then you're getting rid of all this stuff of dragging runners and pushing and pulling them and tushing them and pushing them and all that mess, right? So if you want to put that rule back into place, because that will stop your tush push, okay, fine. You're dealing with a bigger, because I don't like that. I don't like seeing people throwing runners upfield.
Yeah.
I think of dragging a runner 5 yards. So if you want to get rid of all of it, okay. But if you're just going to get rid of the tush push and say it's dangerous and causes injuries, no, why don't you just tell the truth? We can't stop the play, so we're going to find a rule to ban it.
And that's the thing. It's not that every single team around the league is suddenly doing this on 4th and 1, and it's unstoppable. The Eagles, obviously, are the best team at it, and the Bills pretty darn good at it, too. So, if anything, I tip my cap to the ingenuity of figuring out how to make this work, and something that the other 30 teams in the league can't quite figure out. But like you said, it seems like it's kind of trending towards, safety. It's not. And what you had the Commanders guy that kept jumping over the line of scrimmage last year. Because, again, you're on the goal line anyway. They're going to move the ball half an inch, so what have you got to lose? So
5 centimeters.
Again, you say, well, we can't have this happen, player safety and all that kind of stuff, which is the hill they're going to go when it comes to making this rule change. But, yeah, it seems like we're trending towards that being a thing.
So we're going to go player safety route. So we're going to stop Thursday Night Football?
No, that makes money.
Okay. Just want to double check with you if we're going player safety.
By the way, we're also going to add an 18th game coming up in a couple of years.
Well, we can if we're doing player safety.
Yeah, but that makes money, too.
Oh, okay. So basically, we're putting a rule in place. We're going to protect the players as long as it doesn't cost us money.
Here's how the thought process goes to rule changes and things in the NFL. Is it going to cost us money if we change this rule? No? All right, fine.
We're in. The player safety, it's so funny because they lay it out there with a straight face. Whenever they bring up player safety and they say it without laughing, we should have just 2 people on both sides just making it rain.
Sure.
And money's flying up in the air when they're talking about this player safety ridiculousness. It's just, you want to stop the tush push because you can't stop it on the field. So you're going to stop it in the boardroom, basically. But if you want to go with that bigger rule that says nobody can assist a runner at all, okay. Yeah. But if you're just stopping the tush push, to me, it's cowardly.
I also think it's pretty significant because, of course, the NFL's made so many rule changes in the past 10 to 15 years to help offenses, right? Because points and offense, that's fun. That's what people want to tune in and see. The casual sports fan wants to see points scored, touchdowns, those kind of things. This is a rare instance of offenses actually being stifled a little bit. And again, the Bills and the Eagles are the best team at it, but a lot of teams do this.
Yeah, the Ravens use tight end Mark Andrews to be the runner, and then they push him.
You're still not allowed to say his name in the city of Baltimore right now, right?
They're over it, I think, finally, maybe. Some people. So it's just the idea that, look, stop the play. It's really simple. Stop them. And here's the other part. This would not be happening if the Eagles and the Bills and others weren't so successful at it.
Sure.
If it was just a 50-50 shot, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And by the way, if the Eagles were 3-14,
nobody would care.
Nobody would care. But the fact that they're doing this, you can't stop, and they just won the Super Bowl, and they were in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. Well, I got a great idea. Why don't you also put in a rule banning Patrick Mahomes from ad-libbing? Can't stop that either.
Yeah.
How about putting in a rule to stop Saquon Barkley? It just makes me.
Saquon Barkley now has to play with lead in his socks.
Shoes tied together.
Yeah.
It's just, this is all just, you can't stop the play. The team that's running this play the most, it's using it the best, just won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So we've got to do something to stop it because we can't beat them on the field, so let's beat them in the rule book.
I look forward to the league press release on why this rule has changed and see how they cite player safety as the reason.
But again, the Packers putting in, let's go back to the old rule, that's really how they save their butt.
Sure.
Because they're saying this is a bigger problem. Of course, it wasn't a problem until the tush push. Why you got rid of that rule in the first place is beyond me. Why you decided it was okay that players can grab other players and fling them up the field for positive yardage is beyond me in the first place. Why you would stop that rule.
Yeah.
I didn't even know they stopped it. Because I was watching a game, I guess roughly almost 15, 20 years ago. And I'm like, I was seeing some offensive lineman grabbing a running back and just pushing him up the field. I'm like, you can't do that. And then I went on the old internet and found out, yeah, you can now. It's got rid of the rule.
Yep.
So that's the way I feel like, Tyler, they're going to get around being cowardly. They're going to put the old rule back into place and say, this is just for player safety, that we can't grab another player and push them or assist them because it's not fair.
Yep. Okay.
That's where we're going to go. Also, the other rule, which I like, is the proposal, think about the Detroit Lions. Once you get to the divisional round of the playoffs, you reseed the teams by record.
I'm fine with that. Again,
no, you're not. It penalizes your favorite division.
I said this is NFC South discrimination because we know whoever wins the NFC South is going to be like 7-10 or 8-9 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we've had this conversation for years, even going back to that famous time that ended up with the Marshawn Lynch run where the Seahawks hosted the Saints despite having a worse record than them, but they won the NFC West and the Saints were a wild card team. So we've been talking about this for a long time. I don't have a problem with it. Again, it is weird to see, and this past year was an extreme example with the Vikings and the Lions both being 14-2 going the last week of the regular season, knowing one of those teams is going to have to go on the road in the playoffs.
Yeah, and they should have, and that's why. That it's been put out there, and again, it makes sense. Look, right now, if you're the NFC South, you're going to play a first-round playoff game anyway at 7-10 or 8-9, so you're going to get a home playoff game.
Yeah.
But if you do advance somehow, you're not going to get home against a 14-3 Viking team or Lion team.
That's fine.
I do think that's fair once you get to the divisional round, but that's the other one that the NFL is pushing. So. That's what's going on with the NFL owners' meetings. So, once we get word, it's going to be going on in the next couple of days. We'll find out what they're going to do. 5:15, we have baseball. The Southeastern Conference baseball tournament in Hoover is going on. Oklahoma, Kentucky is coming up next. Then Game 3 of the day will be South Carolina and Florida. 5:15 pregame. Everything gets started right here on the Game in Columbia and our affiliate in Myrtle Beach. We have the Firehouse Sub Text of the Hour coming up next. 803-404-6100 here on the Halftime Show. Tyler Head, David Ayer, Terry Ford on the game. Get to our Firehouse Sub text the hour in just a minute, 803-404-6100. Let's see, we got game 2 underway in Hoover at the SEC baseball tournament. No score with Kentucky and Oklahoma. Again, top of the first. 1 out. Wildcats have a runner on first. Again, early on, just underway, top of the first inning in Hoover between Oklahoma and Kentucky. Of course, 5:15 we get rolling with South Carolina from the SEC tournament. They will go up against Florida, obviously a team that swept the Gamecocks here in Columbia earlier in the year. So 803-404-6100, our Firehouse Sub text of the hour. Tyler will get that for us just here in a second. Oh, the call is under review. So it wasn't a single. Or is it? Yeah, it is a single. So there we go. Our first base runner in the Kentucky-Oklahoma game. What do you got there on the old text line, my man?
Let's see here. Hold on. Find a good one here. Another one to add for our BMW discussion. Dave, I think you can agree with this. David says BMW stands for broke my wallet. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
This does break your wallet. Speaking of, I just looked at this. See if you can see it. See that?
Uh-oh.
Uh-huh.
What happened? What happened?
See that? See that? So I'm walking out of Panera Bread yesterday, getting a coffee. Talking on the phone with the girlfriend. Get off the phone. And I have a habit of when I finish talking on the phone, if I'm holding it to my ear, I wipe my phone off automatically.
Okay.
I just do that.
Yeah, like
it's a thing.
The grease from your face or whatever on it.
So I just take it and wipe it off on my pants.
Sure.
So I'm going to wipe it off on my pants, and I catch a crease on my pants when I'm wiping it, and the phone pops out of my hand. And it could land on the sidewalk, Tyler and Dave, or it could land on the grass. Guess where it landed?
Sidewalk.
Of course it did. So now I've got a cracked screen.
I had that happen one time. I can't remember if it was when I still had my Android. Yes, I did used to have an Android before I went to an iPhone.
Join the cult?
Yeah.
Both of you.
And for it was either at work or at class or something like that. Was sitting on the edge of a table and somehow it fell off. And I had like a jacket sitting on the ground, right? The edge of this table. Missed the jacket by about 2 inches and landed face down. And I heard the crack. You almost don't even want to pick it up, right?
I didn't. Right.
You're like, you just kind of hold it in your hand, face down.
I do.
And at some point you turn it over, see what the damage is. And of course the screen is all cracked to hell, but it's like 2 inches. You just barely missed it.
Oh, yeah. It was probably about that. That was the distance between the sidewalk and the ground. And and I knew it. To your point, I just looked down at it. It was like I've had this thing for 5 years, like a family member.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, do I need to call 911 to resuscitate you? Because I didn't want to pick it up because I knew it was cracked.
Sure.
I just knew there was no way. And I've got one of those Otter boxes, which are really good.
Yeah.
But it's not that comes out away from the screen.
And you don't have a glass protector on it.
And I don't have a glass protector on it anymore. And so I knew it. I just knew it.
Yep.
And yep. So now I'm going to today, because this phone is so near and dear to my heart, I'm going to go to a place to see if they'll repair the screen, and it won't cost me like thousands of dollars.
That's the funny
5
thing.
years old?
And
it's 5 years old, man. I don't need a new phone. Dave's got 3 iPhones.
Well, and Dave, maybe your newest iPhone is like this, but it's always bewildered me. Like Apple can make really tough products, right? And I can throw this phone into a lake and it'll be fine as long as it doesn't sink like 20 feet down. But for some reason, they can't get the glass to where it can withstand a 2-foot fall.
Yeah, I
don't know. Are the new ones better? Have you dropped yours face down and not had a problem?
I've dropped it, but like on the floor, not in the concrete.
Well, plus Dave's got 3 burner phones.
He
They're
does.
all iPhones.
Yeah, no. So the funniest thing that happened was a couple months ago when Dave sends us a mass text like, "Hey, contact me at this new number."
Right.
And it did not allow any questions to be asked about that.
That was it. And if you ever saw him,
the feds on your tail or what?
Before we destroyed all these telemarketing desks, Dave had a cube, right? Because Dave was telemarketing on the side. We had a cube, and Dave would have his 3 phones laying on the desk. And they're all iPhones. They're all relatively new. And I'm just like, okay. I'm sitting here, I'm watching, I'm thinking Breaking Bad.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm absolutely thinking Breaking Bad.
Because once you get the deal, you drop it in the trash can.
Exactly.
Now you have to pay for those in cash at the store.
And they're typically flip phones.
That was actually a plot point of one of the episodes where Jesse bought one with a credit card. And it's like, you idiot.
You can't
I can track
do that. But, yeah, so I know, Dave, with you, and because you get a phone every 3 months, I got this phone during COVID because I dropped my other phone into the sink when I was washing dishes, and it wasn't waterproof. And I was watching it drown. I said, I can't save you.
Yeah.
But so I've had the phone 5 years, and it's set up perfect for
Sure.
me. I don't want to go through all the mess of having to redo everything
Well,
again.
if you're logged in to your accounts on your phone, it should be able to set it up
sync and
easier.
all that. But, it always misses stuff.
It does.
So now I want to see if I can get the screen fixed. But the screen's doing that's going to be more than the phone cost for a new one.
Probably.
So my phone I'm going to have to bury, and it's going to be a sad, sad ceremony. It's my girlfriend's fault. She called me at Panera. I blame her.
Let me know how that
Trending
goes.
at 2. Oh, it's going to go great. I'm sure it's going to work. Trending at 2 next. What's Trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry, Gamecock Traditions, here on the halftime show. David Eric keeping us going. Tyler's here. Terry Ford, we're rolling up until 3 on the game, then post-game show. An abbreviated edition of the post-game show today because of Gamecock baseball at 5:15 from Hoover. Let's grab a little Paul Maneri here, David Dare. Here is Coach, first of all, talking about facing the Florida Gators again. Let's get cut to, because, again, the Gators swept South Carolina here in Columbia during the regular season. Here is Coach Maneri talking about going up against the Gators.
Well, they did the same thing with us. So, and, they had this success against us. It was kind of a strange series because it was so the rain interrupted the first game, and then the second game was a close game until the last 2 innings. Then the score, was just, got out of hand. And then, Sunday we just didn't hit much. So, you could say the same thing for them. So I don't know if there's any advantage. I think it's just a matter of who plays better.
Yeah, it's a one and done, right? We talk about this in baseball. It's not a series. It's a one and done.
Anything can happen in one game.
Yeah, I mean, you can get, again, your starting pitcher goes on a heater.
Hey.
Offensively, you just have one of those days where everything you hit finds grass.
The other team can, throw the ball away at the very end, and you can score on a walk-off wild pitch like Thursday against LSU. So, yeah, Carolina beating Florida today is not the most insane thought in the world, but going on a 5-game winning streak to make the NCAA tournament, that's a little far-fetched.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Different.
So, again, anything could happen today. I would lean towards Florida probably winning this game, but we'll see.
Yeah, and then if you do win, you move on. You'll play Ole Miss. 5:15 coverage starts tomorrow from Hoover. So that's where it's at. Also, here's Coach Maneri. Speaking of LSU, let's get to cut 5 here. Coach Maneri talks about the LSU series as a measuring stick for where the program is. Hit that one, Dave.
We played the number 1 team in the country, I think, earlier this year when it was Tennessee, and we played the number 2 team in the country, Auburn, last week. So it's every week is a top-ranked team, it seems. We have a long way to go. I mean, I'm not going to pull any punches here. We have a ways to go. We need to get improve in a lot of areas to be able to compete with those teams at that level. And we're working hard at recruiting. We're working hard at, developing the players that we have in our program that we think will continue to be in our program and be main players for us. But, the record is what it is. The statistics are what they are. I think we're second to last in the league in hitting and second to last in the league in pitching. And, we need to get better. I mean, that's just the bottom line. So, I don't really, use a barometer right now because I don't even think we're close to those teams, and we have a long way to go. So we're out beating the bushes and working hard in recruiting, and going to try to upgrade our team in every possible way that we can. And like I said, continue to work with the players that are in our program that I think are part of our future. And it's going to be a fun journey. We've got a ways to go, but sometimes, you have to almost get to the rock bottom before you can start to make the improvement to get the program where you want it to be. And I don't have any doubt we're going to get there. I've been through this before. When I coached at LSU the very first year, this is kind of the year we had. And, we had a great recruiting class. And the second year, even though we started slow, we played really well the second half of that second year and ended up making it to Omaha. And the third year, we won the national championship. So I can't promise that that's going to be the exact outcome here. But I know that we're going to get better.
Yeah, that's next year not to be mean, but it's got to get a lot better next year in year 2. Yes.
Well, if it's not better, you're probably not the coach at next year's SEC tournament,
right? And there won't be a year 3.
There won't be a year 3. So you have no choice but to turn it around. And okay, did again, playing the best team in the country, because there's a difference between playing the best team in, late or mid-April and playing the best team at the end of May, because, again, things have changed. And obviously, those rankings are based on what's happened over the course of the entire season. So does playing what is perceived to be the best team in the country at the end of the regular season give you a blueprint on how far of a distance it is between the top and where you're at?
Yeah, and plus, too, how much better have you gotten in that, using that as a barometer? Yeah, it looks like you've improved from when you played Auburn or played Tennessee or whatever. But, and again, I understand that. But then the flip side of that is, yeah, but, the weekend before, what happened to you?
Yeah.
And the weekend before that, what happened to you? And how much of it how locked in was LSU in that 3-game series?
And that's the thing, too, is again, we look at a team like Missouri, who, again, found a way to sweep Texas A&M over the course of them having a terrible season. But you'd say, okay, they at least put together a strong weekend towards the end of the year. That's some kind of momentum that they can use to build into next season. Outside of the one win against LSU, what'd you really do in those last couple weeks? Not a whole lot.
Well, think about this, Tyler. Since you took that second game against Ole Miss, the only series you won in the SEC, since you won that second game, you've only been victorious in 2 SEC games since.
Yeah.
Kentucky and then the LSU game. And I'm not trying to be negative about it. I'm just and maybe that game 1 win over LSU, where you saw a lot of good things happen. Maybe that's what you look at and say, that's where we need to be. Win or lose, you played the number 1 team in the country tough. You came back from 2 runs down. You got a game-tying bomb in the 9th. Then you found a way to scrape the winning run together. All that's positive and great and wonderful.
Sure.
And your bullpen, really held LSU at bay after they got the 5-3 lead. So there's a lot of good to take from that. Now, does that make you think that's how much we've improved since what's happened to us previously? I hope that is a barometer. I really do.
Yeah.
I do.
And also, one thing you have to look at now is, again, if today's the last day or tomorrow, whenever your season's going to come to an end, portal's opening up in a couple days.
June 2nd.
June 2nd. How many of your guys are going to leave? And again, especially, we heard him talk about this, coming away from the weekend. Can you retain that young talent? Because again, now we've got a full season of KJ Scobie. Now we've got a full season of Bo Hollins. These guys that are kind of going to be the potential future of this program. Can you hang on to them? Again, which is probably going to account for having to pay them a lot more than you're paying them this year, because now you know what they can do at the college level. They're probably going to be sought after by other schools. Can you retain that talent, and can you go out there and get good talent in the transfer portal that does fit what you're trying to do from a philosophy standpoint to make you better?
And then you got a guy like Jay Swoda, who has got another year of eligibility.
He does,
and
again, he has been one of the few bright spots on this team for how he's come in here and played.
Yeah, so you got to retain and keep and re-recruit the guys you want to keep from this roster, and then you're going to go have to hit the portal hard to, like you said, get the players to fit your philosophies, your culture, your style of play, all that stuff. And whether it's offense or defense. And we looked at the offense to open the show compared to last year. Here's the pitching. 2024. In the SEC, this pitching staff was 6th in ERA, 8th in opponent batting average against. Also 8th in home runs allowed, a whip of 1.43, and that's just walks and hits. Now, if you added in hit by pitch, it will go up to 1.60. This year, you go from 6th to 15th in ERA, 15th in opponent batting average, 15th in home runs allowed. Your whip with just hits and walks is up to 1.56, and your whip with hits, walks, and hit by pitch, 1.73.
You got worse at everything.
Everything.
And again, a lot of the same pitchers from a year ago, with some new guys mixed in, obviously, but you got fundamentally worse than last year.
The pitchers that you have this year that were here last year either got worse or stagnated.
Yeah.
Flat out.
Nothing improved.
No.
And again, I know Terry's your boy, right-hand man, probably comes over for dinner a couple times a week, those kind of things, but we might have to have a serious conversation here of, okay, is this the best option going forward with him presiding over pitching? And he's also the recruiting coordinator, too. So that plays part in it, and I get it. You've done a good job recruiting, but at the end of the day, if he's over pitching as well, it's not working.
And something. Look, obviously, something's wrong. So, are you going to now say, okay, we're going to go get pitchers that fit Rooney's pitching philosophies? Because it feels like you didn't have that with this. It just really feels like you came in. This is what I do as a pitching coach. This is what we're going to do. And maybe these pitchers didn't fit it.
It's like you were trying to just fill out the room with the pitchers that you had. And again, the guys you got in the transfer portal, it's like, okay, now that you're here, here's how we're going to do it. It's
My
like,
way.
Well, coach, I didn't pitch that way at whatever school I was at, right? We didn't do this last year. Like, I don't care. That's how we're doing it. So again, everything is under a microscope here. Can you re-examine and say, okay, well, maybe we need to kind of lean into what these guys do a little bit better instead of just having one universal philosophy of how we're going to be as a staff? I don't know if that's the answer or not, but it's something to think about.
Because we talk about everyday players as keepers. What about your pitching staff? I mean, there are guys with, again, Jake McCoy's got an SEC arm.
Sure.
He's got arm talent. He just doesn't have command and location. And he didn't get better this year. He kind of stagnated, went from a relief role to a starter, but he still had the same issues he had as a reliever.
Yep.
So what do you think about a guy like that with eligibility left? You got other pitchers on this staff who could come back, but you didn't see success.
No.
You really didn't. Like, okay, let's go to the stat sheet here really fast from this past season. And you look at, okay, again, Brandon Stone would have eligibility left.
Yeah.
He came JUCO, had an ERA of over 6.
Like one of the best JUCO pitchers available, by the way.
And it did did it not work because of what we're talking about, or was Stone just a guy that could make the leap? I don't know, but I know that he was highly sought after and highly touted.
And he had what game was that where he went like 8 innings?
Remember that? And he threw like what, 80 pitches or something?
Again,
complete game. He had the first complete game in years.
That's right. And it's like, okay, that's good.
So you saw it, right?
But again, why was that not translating over the course of the entire season?
Yeah, so, you've got him. We've talked about Jake McCoy. You've got guys who, what do you think moving forward on? Because nobody, as I look up and down this roster, and you just look at the numbers across the board, by the way, as I look at this, just to hammer this point home, Parker Malott is the only pitcher on this staff with an ERA of under 4. That's it. That's all. Of a guy who, and he made 24 appearances. Besides that, you got a ton of ERAs in the 4s, the 5s, the 6s, the 8s, the 11s. So if you're going to continue down, if Coach Rooney is going to say, okay, we need guys doing it my way with my philosophies, well, this entire pitching staff, for the most part, struggled.
Yep.
Doing it that way. So, again, my thought is, who's coming back on this pitching staff?
Great question.
You got some young arms in development that people tell me there's some arm talent that you didn't see this year.
And again, we're going to be asking these exact same questions the entire offseason. Because, again, we don't have a whole lot to go off of.
Yeah.
The optimism is going to be very hard until, again, you took care of mid-majors, really until conference play begins next year. We're going to be questioning, okay, is this team actually going to be better than last year's team was? Because, again, you were undefeated against the mid-majors, which, all right, fine, good. You're supposed to do that kind of thing. But when you actually stepped up the competition level, you couldn't compete. So
there's a lot that needs to be done, obviously. And with the pitching staff, who are you going to re-recruit? It's a legit, and again, and some of these pitchers, they want to come back.
Yeah.
That's another thing you got to bring up.
There's a lot of guys that are probably in Hoover right now getting ready to play this game that already know that they are out as soon as this thing's over with.
You think of the pitching staff, if it truly is kind of like a fit thing, and you're being asked to pitch in a way you haven't pitched before, or it doesn't fit your skill set, or whatever it is, why do you want to get re-recruited and come back and pitch with the same situation? Just saying. So many ways to hang out with us here on The Game. We're here in Columbia, 107.5 The Game, 100.5 The Game in Florence, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. Also, you can watch us at The Game TV Radio, our YouTube channel, as we stream on video, or you can download the app on your phone and listen to us anywhere. So we kind of stalk you every place we can. What's trending at 2 here on The Game? We'll come back, hear some more from Coach Maneri. And you know what? Sometimes you got to check IDs in girls softball. That's coming up next here on The Game. What's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry, Gamecock Traditions. Of course, what's trending is baseball later this afternoon as the Gamecocks at Hoover. First round of the SEC tournament will take on the Florida Gators. Again, 5:15 here on 107.5 The Game in Columbia and our affiliate 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. All right, Coach Maneri talking about a bunch of different things, getting ready for this game. Let's go with cut 7, Dave. As and Paul has talked about this a lot this year. Just how strong the SEC is in baseball and how tough the league has been. Let's circle back, cut 7, Dave, about the strength of the Southeastern Conference.
Every year I get it. When I was coaching at LSU for 15 years, everybody would ask me that, with each passing year, and I give them the same answer every year. I don't know how it can get any better. It's always been tough. It's always been the best league in the country. Typically every weekend is a series between 2 ranked teams. When I made a comment earlier this year, people ridiculed me for it because I said, it kind of caught me off guard. But really what I meant was I just couldn't believe that there were so many hard throwers. That's something that's really improved in the league. I mean, it's just unbelievable how many kids are throwing the ball so hard nowadays, 95 to 100 miles an hour. The last pitcher we faced on against LSU on Saturday was throwing 100 miles an hour consistently. And, you just never saw that in college baseball, even half a dozen years ago. And, the athletes are just improving every year. They throw the ball harder. They hit the ball harder. You need to recruit the players that can compete at that level. I think the conference continues to be stronger. I think a major factor of why it continues to improve every year is because of the transfer portal and because you have older players playing in the league than ever before. In the old days, a team might have a great season, and then, they'd have to spend a year kind of, developing their younger players, and then they'd be back in the hunt, in a year or two, whatever, and somebody else would take their turn. But now, teams just reload through the transfer portal.
Yeah, it's a different world. Just 3 years since you've been out of the game, as Coach Maneri has been, and now you see it. I mean, just the pitching is so far ahead of hitting today in baseball because of the analytics,
TrackMan, and all the technology and all that stuff. Which, I mean, that's been around, but again, the difference in 3 years, it's probably night and day from what he left at LSU in 2021.
Well, what's happened is TrackMan is now in all these college ballparks. Now, it was in certain pockets of places for a while, but it's in every college ballpark. That's why you'll see they talk about the MLB draft. You're seeing more college pitchers getting picked and college hitters because the Major League Baseball teams now have all the TrackMan info, where high schools, some high school in in Florida probably doesn't have TrackMan.
Yeah.
But you get TrackMan in college.
Some of the high schools are getting it now.
Texas will probably have it everywhere.
It's trickling down. Don't worry.
And the schools with the money in Texas, they're all putting TrackMan in probably.
Yep.
But they have TrackMan himself there.
Yes.
Just say it.
Hey, that's TrackMan over there. Say hi.
Say hey. Well, because like the pitching lab at Wake Forest.
Yes. Yep.
This is what's going on in baseball. Pitching is so far ahead. And again, if you follow the game and you read about the analytics and all the biomechanical stuff that's going on and the science behind this and technology, they basically will take your delivery and break it down frame by frame.
We are so far past the days of he's a good ball player.
Right. Exactly. And they do. They go in there and you'll be a pitcher and you'll go into this pitching lab, we'll say, and they will break you down frame by frame by frame by frame. And they will then take your delivery and break it down and rebuild it to maximize your velocity and spin rate. Yeah. It's all spin rate and velocity.
And we've talked to some of the pitchers in here before the season started about what goes into that. And, sometimes it's the way that you're, standing on the mound. Sometimes it's the way that you're holding the ball, where your release point is. Like, it's all these fine, minute, small details that go a long way in improving you as a pitcher one way or the other that, again, you now have access to being able to break down to the umpteenth degree to figure out what's going right or wrong with the pitcher.
Let's throw another one out to you real fast in this conversation about last year to this year. Mark Kingston was a very analytical head coach.
Yeah, so he was brought in here, and that was kind of the day one thing. Like, hey, we're going to use this new age of baseball. It's gonna be great.
So, do you think? And I'm just asking, how much more do you think Kingston and his staff used analytics compared to Paul Mainieri and his staff?
Probably a lot more. And I didn't they back it down a little bit at one point because maybe they leaned into it too heavily? That was before I was here, I think. But still, yeah, I'd venture to think that they were looking at statistics and analytics a lot more than maybe the old school approach of Mainieri.
And so let's say whether it's the hitting philosophy, I hate walks.
Yep.
And maybe Rooney's pitching philosophies are more old school than the analytics. Maybe these are pitchers and hitters who have been coached up on the analytics of the game, and their approach to the game offensively and pitching-wise, I'm talking about the players, has come from the analytic perspective of Kingston and his staff. Mm-hmm. And now you're going with some different philosophies that maybe aren't as analytical. I'm just throwing it out there we have such a difference in performance.
It's a fair question to ask. And again, as I've said, when things are going this wrong, everything is under the microscope and worth being investigated.
Yeah, and so I just think that's why the pitching, to Coach Mainieri's point, it's so advanced because the analytics they've changed the game of pitching.
Yeah.
And the other thing I read a really deep dive on this because I have obviously no life. I have a broken phone. They were talking about how what is done now also in pitching. You ready for this one? This one's so obvious that you go, why was it not always done this way? When I was growing up, they always want to teach pitchers how to mix pitches, have a 4-pitch mix. Mm-hmm. Throw this pitch, throw your third or fourth best pitch because you got to throw all of them to keep everybody off balance, right?
Yep.
The new age is this. Why the hell are you throwing a pitch you're not that good at? Here are your best 2 pitches.
I say, you got 2 good pitches, focus on 2 good pitches.
Go throw them. Now, again, occasionally you want to throw another one.
Sure.
Okay, but most of the time you should be throwing the pitches you're good at.
Sure.
Not just throwing pitches because you have to. Most of your pitches should be the pitches you throw at a high level. That's changed as well. So now pitchers are out there they're throwing their 2 best pitches, 85, 90% of the time. Mm-hmm. And they'll just chuck the other ones in every now and then. Or let's say they're working on a pitch or whatever the case is in a special circumstance. But now pitchers are, for the most part, throwing the pitches they throw the best.
Yep.
Isn't that crazy when you hear that and you go, we're not always doing that?
Yeah.
It's so logical, right?
I say, I do the things that I'm better at more often than not. Weird.
But that's another thing that's changed huge from the analytic approach of pitching.
Yeah.
That you go, well, when you put it that way, it makes a ton of sense. Because again, when I was playing, you probably said when you were playing, it was like pitchers were...
And again, for a guy like Paul Mainieri, he may not have even thought about that. It's like, okay, this is just the way it's always been done, but successful doing it.
The way we teach it.
You have to maybe kind of reintroduce it to him. I don't know.
I would like to, again, like I said about the offense, I'd love to see chase rate offensively for the hitters, or what's their rate or percentage of chasing pitches out of the zone compared to last year. I'd also like to see the pitch mix of the pitching staff compared to last year to this year. Are they still basically, because again, if you're going the analytic bent like the Kingston staff would, I'm guessing you're more leaning toward throw the pitches you throw best.
Sure.
Are you still doing that with Rooney's philosophy? If it is more old school than analytics, are you trying to incorporate other pitches in your mix? I don't know, but it's just, again, throwing it out there for conversation purposes. What's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. What is today, the 20th? My phone's broke.
May the 20th, that's correct.
It's the greatest day in the history of the world. We'll talk about that next here on the Halftime Show. David Ayer, Tyler Head, Terry Ford on the game. All right, before we jump into the greatest day in the history of the world, let's give away some tickets. We got tickets, Fireflies, and this is for next week against the Fayetteville Woodpeckers. I love that name.
I love all minor league baseball names.
So
They're
good.
phenomenal.
The Fayetteville Woodpeckers coming to town, taking on the Columbia Fireflies. This is Thursday, May 29th. 2 family 4-packs. So 2 different family 4-packs.
Yep.
With me, Dave?
2 different winners.
Yes.
8 total tickets split between 2 different winners.
Each winner gets 4 because 4 plus 4 is 8. Am I right on that?
That's correct.
Don't win and bring your whole family from Newberry and say, oh, it's 8 tickets.
No, you get no.
Get 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, one winner
4.
gets 4, and the other winner gets 4. Okay? And
You're not
caller
telling
number, we're going to make it see, caller number 2 and caller number 5. I'm staying away from the number 4. Did you notice that?
Yes.
We don't need any more confusion.
Well, we're not mathematicians.
No, we're
around
not.
Here. There's a reason we do radio.
No, we're not. So give us a ring, 803-404-6100, Fireflies tickets, which is a good time. It's cool. That's chill. I like that place.
Yeah, it's a
Cyber's
fun
nice.
place. Cheap beer, hot dogs, all that
We
kind of
went
stuff.
last year, our little outing for the
Little outing.
radio station.
Yep.
We had a good time. It was
We
cool.
did.
All right, so
I had to work that
803-404-6100. Well, we set it up for a day you had to work.
I know.
Remember,
Well, Dave, we plan these things for you not to be there.
again, we had a meeting, and it was like, okay, what day can't Dave go? That's the day we're going.
Exactly. And
How'd
this
you know,
year's going to
Dave?
be the same way.
Yeah, when do you work this year?
Well,
I'll give you a list.
can the bus take you down there?
The bus can drop you off at Segra if there's no backup,
Can.
because you still won't have the BMW fixed by then. We got to start the David Dare Fix My BMW GoFundMe page.
I'm telling you, get a bucket, go on the street corner,
Start playing.
start collecting dollars.
You could do it, Dave. We'll get you a cute little dog and a kid, and you can sit there.
You can tap dance or something. Show off your
I think
talents.
Dave tap dancing's not going to happen, I don't think. All right, greatest day in the history of the world, which is May 20th. Interesting stuff on this day. We'll start off old school. 1900 on this day, my man, the second modern Olympic Games open in Paris. 1900. Guess how that went? Guess which country won the most medals in the 1900 Games in Paris?
1900. I'm just gonna guess America.
Second. America was second behind France.
Okay.
A lot of times the home country does really well in the Olympics.
That's true. I wonder how many of the sports for that Olympics are still around today.
And I didn't get to go down that far down the rabbit hole, but there's some stuff here. There's a marathon. Oh, there's a 60-meter and 110-meter hurdles instead of, that's a little interesting, the 60-meter.
Sure.
Let's see, what else? You had your swimming.
Yep.
That was going on in 1900. Cow milking. Okay, I just made that up. I just was
Now
playing
you say
around.
that, I wouldn't be surprised.
And the U.S. I'm going to try to get the name. Alvin Krasenlein won 4 medals from the U.S.
I hope they called him Crazy Al.
Probably did. 60-meter, 110-meter hurdles, 200-meter hurdles, and the long jump for Alvin. So that was 1900 at the Paris Games. France finished first. The U.S. finished second, and Great Britain was third in those 1900 games. And no, they were not on the NBC network of
I would say,
stations.
were they streaming on Peacock
Exactly.
back then?
All right, also greatest day in the history of the world. This day in 1919, Babe Ruth of the Boston Red Sox is the winning pitcher and hits a grand slam, the first of his career as the Red Sox beat the St. Louis Browns 6-4.
We talked about this. We don't talk about Babe Ruth pitching enough.
He was really good.
He's good at everything,
This is like a Shohei Ohtani kind of thing with Babe Ruth.
The hitting got more of a focus, obviously, for the long-time home run leader, but he's a pretty darn good pitcher, too.
I mean, he set World Series. I think he had a consecutive scoreless inning streak in World Series play for years.
How many different pitches do you think he was throwing?
6 or 8. Probably doctored it with beer.
I would say he was spitting on the ball, rubbing rubbing hot dog grease on it,
Well, this ball smells like Budweiser.
spitting tobacco on the thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely see that. All right, this day in 1964, this is interesting. In 1964, on this day, a dude named Buster Mathis beats future world heavyweight champion Joe Frazier on points at the Olympic trials in Flushing, New York. Mathis, though, injured his thumb. So Frazier, who finished second, who lost the championship, replaced Mathis at the 64 Olympics, I believe in Tokyo, and Frazier won the gold medal.
Wow.
So if you're Buster Mathis, so you're kicking yourself over your thumb because if Frazier won the gold and you beat Frazier, bleeping thumb. Mathis was a guy, he was a pro. He ended up like 30-4 in his career. Frazier avenged the loss later in their pro careers, getting a TKO in the 11th round. Mathis was 30-4, so he had a good one-loss record, but he always lost to the higher-level guys, Jerry Quarry, Ron Lyle, Muhammad Ali beat Buster Mathis as well. But a guy Buster Mathis did beat that's interesting, a guy named Chuck Wepner. Chuck Wepner was an underdog fighter, I believe from the Philly, Jersey area, who fought Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali basically just gave a jobber a chance.
Yeah.
Wepner took the fight almost to the end. And Wepner's story is where Sylvester Stallone came up with the movie Rocky. Chuck Wepner.
Wow, okay.
So Mathis beat Chuck Wepner early in their careers, basically.
How about that?
So, all right, greatest day in the history of the world. And now you ought to look up the Chuck Wepner-Muhammad Ali fight if you ever get bored.
I'll check that out.
All right, no, you won't, but it sounded good. You said it on the air. 1972.
That does sound like something that would interest me, though.
It is really interesting when you kind of look at it.
Yeah.
1972, Indiana Pacers, they win the ABA championship, beating the New York Nets. Also in 1972, not on this day, the New York Knicks won the NBA championship.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of those franchises have sniffed a championship since.
Until now, where the Knicks are back in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Facing who? The Indiana Pacers.
Yep.
That's what's interesting real quick about this Final Four in the NBA. Indiana last won a championship in the ABA in 72. Knicks last won a championship in the NBA in 72. Oklahoma City won a championship when they were the Supersonics in 79. Count. And the Minnesota Timberwolves didn't win a championship, but the Minneapolis Lakers won championships in the 50s before they moved to LA.
Yep. Also the seventh different champion in the last 7 years?
In the history
never
of the NBA.
In the history of the NBA.
Because the NBA is a very superstar driven / dynasty ridden sport.
Yep.
So, very interesting. Another interesting one, since we're on the roll of interesting. 1978, Affirmed, ridden by Steve Cawthon, wins the Preakness over Aladar. Now, in 1978, in the 3 Triple Crown races, the 2 best horses far and away were Affirmed and Aladar.
Mm-hmm. Affirmed won the Triple Crown, and in every race, Aladar finished second. It's one of the greatest rivalries in Triple Crown racing. Affirmed was ridden by a guy named Steve Cawthon. He was the youngest jockey ever to ride a Triple Crown horse. Cawthon, though, because he couldn't hold his weight down, had to end up going overseas to England to ride because you could be heavier as a jockey. But Cawthon was going to be this great jockey, and he was a great jockey. But he was at an early age, he was identified as really special, and he rode Affirmed to the Triple Crown. Wow.
1978. Greatest day in the history of the world. Larry Holmes gets 2 things real quick. First of all, Holmes beat Carl Williams to retain the heavyweight title in 1985. And Holmes also, on this day in 1983, beat Tim Witherspoon to hold on to the heavyweight championship as well. We talked about how good Monica Seles was before that goof stabbed her, right? Well, in 1990, Monica Seles ends Steffi Graf's 66-match win streak and takes the German Open. Streak was the second longest in the modern era behind Martina Navratilova's 74 straight. But Monica Seles was the best women's tennis player in the world when that wackadoodle stabbed her. And by the way, the wackadoodle was a fan of Steffi Graf.
Yep.
Michael Jordan was named the MVP of the NBA this day in 1991. Whatever happened to that guy?
Being a okay minor league baseball player.
Yeah, he did okay. By the way, they just showed
because they're playing at the Hoover Met.
Exactly. It's pretty funny. He played for the Birmingham Barons.
Baron legend.
Yep, Michael Jordan. By the way, just for fun, that's the greatest day in the history. Oh, no. I got to get one more. 2015, the NASCAR 2016 Hall of Fame inductees. Do you know?
Oh, God. 2000.
If you get this,
oh, man.
I'm giving you a family 4-pack to go see the Fireflies if you get this.
Yeah. I can name most of the Hall of Famers, but I couldn't tell you specifically who went in 2015.
Bobby Isaac, Terry Labonte, Jerry Cook.
Okay.
Didn't Labonte drive the Cornflake one? Is that the Labonte?
Yeah.
The Terry,
he
I know they had multiple
Cornflake
Labontes.
car and the Frosted Flakes car.
Yep. All right, because that was the 2016 Hall of Fame class for NASCAR.
Neat.
There you go. And, look, that's tough. If you would have gotten that.
That's, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the greatest day in history. The Michael Jordan thing for fun, because my kid's a LeBron guy. And so I send him, because again, I'm a Jordan guy.
Sure.
And so I always send him Jordan stuff just to make it, and then I put a little goat on it just to make him mad. I did it yesterday. He was so mad.
I'll send him that one today.
I am. Guess who was the NBA MVP today? Michael Jordan. All right, greatest day in the history of the world. We are done. We'll come back. Firehouse Sub Text the hour 803-404-6100, and we'll do our handoff, sponsored by Little Pigs on Alpine, to the post-game show. That is next, right here on The Game. righty. Firehouse Subtext, the hour 803-404-6100, and then we'll get to our handoff from Little Pigs on Alpine. What do you got there, Tyler?
We've been talking about phones and breaking them. Nameless texter says, my wife's phone fell off the top of her car and then got run over by a motorcycle, only had a small crack in it thanks to the OtterBox.
The OtterBox is great.
Those OtterBoxes are good.
Yes, I wish mine was thicker on the ridges, and it would have saved mine from when it hit the cement.
You see the free
OtterBox.
That's what
they're the jam, man.
This is
I don't know where I am.
I think that's what this is. It's one of the thicker phone cases I've had.
Otter on the back?
No, well, I have a little card holder that covers it up, but I drop this thing constantly, and it's been okay.
It's a cool thing. It says Otter on the back.
Mine says OtterBox.
Yeah, OtterBox. Yep.
Yeah.
So they are the best.
I've dropped it a couple times.
Yeah. So the OtterBox, man.
The problem is now if you drop it at the right angle on the corner,
it just breaks through.
That's what got my last one because we have a little like mat in there underneath the board, and if you drop it at the right angle, you can still crack your screen even with the case on it. I did that here. Well, so that's what happened with my last phone.
Well, why didn't you go to Cumulus about it was broke here while you were working?
My $50 phone.
Shh, you don't tell them that. You say my $1,000 phone.
They're all $1,000 phones.
Now, if you buy a reconditioned one like I do.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't spend more than $100 on a phone.
Yeah, I do have a crack in my OtterBox case, if anybody's really concerned about that. So it is not infallible.
It's not, well, you should take that back.
Well, Terry cracked his on the sidewalk outside Panera the other day.
Yeah, that's what we were yesterday. My 5-year-old phone, Jay, that I love deeply, now of the screen.
We're gonna buy him an iPhone. He's gonna have to join the cult.
Not part of the cult.
He's afraid. I keep telling him that it's not when it's literally the largest corporation on earth, it's no longer a cult.
No, that's what they've done. This cult has spread worldwide.
Now, and when they come by your house and insert the chip in your brain, you just you get used to it.
It's like that movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Exactly.
My chip has been in since like 1986. I'm fine. And the chips were a lot bigger back then.
Are you really fine?
And Jay got one of the colorful chips back when the logo had colors in it.
Yeah. I'm good.
Severance. Good. Severance has chips.
Did you try Severance last night, by the way, Terry?
I don't have headphones today.
He's talking about the TV show Severance.
When you said you were going to try it because there was nothing on last night.
Well, I had other things to do.
That's on our list.
But you know what, Dave? I am going to watch it because the sports world is slowing down. I'm going to try. I watched the first 15 minutes and fell asleep.
I believe you.
A little slow.
I believe
you. A little slow to start. But I will retry, Dave.
But not because of the show, just that I believe you that you fell asleep because it wasn't sports.
That might have been it. Yeah. I'm so used to watching sports.
I believe you. It's like, oh, well, I guess
that might have been the problem.
That's what I told Elijah yesterday, that, with no NBA, NHL, no football or anything right now, that on a Monday night, the American sporting public could take a nap.
Did you? What did you do? You watch anything on a night with no sports last night?
Last night, you know what? Last night, my 20-year-old, we Pop Culture Jeopardy with Colin Jost.
Oh, okay.
It's fun.
Okay.
It's Jeopardy, but with teams, and it's.
How'd you do?
Well, okay. I got a couple. I get the old ones.
Tell the truth. I was going to say the pop culture now. I'm terrible.
Oh, there's some stuff. I'm like
right.
like this YouTube influencer. And
I'm done. As soon as you say YouTube influencer, it's over. I got nothing.
But then daughters will be like, oh, that's so and so. They have 4 million followers. I'm like, okay.
Then you go like this.
What are they influencing?
And you know what? They've made more money than you'll ever see in your entire life.
Man. And then you say, okay, who played the neighbor on Three's Company? Nah.
Yeah,
all right, what do you got coming up?
Yeah, sadly, that doesn't. What do we have? Stuart Lake, live from Hoover.
All right, sweet, because that's 5:15 condensed show today. We have Carolina baseball.
We're out early.
Dave, nice work. Tyler, good work. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.